Blood for the blood god, skulls for the throne of corn. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for chaos training. And today was shoulder day, so we started with a strict standing press. I do want to work on getting my range of motion up on this, so actually I added a ton of pullovers at the end. I want to double down on doing more and more pullovers because realistically, I know that if I can get stuff to where I can get into certain positions better, improve that shoulder mobility and everything, that my overall upper body gains are going to continue to improve. But I want to continue to try to do a strict shoulder press, and today did those sets and then did a couple sets of 7 there. And then I forgot to hit record on the first one, by the way, but it happens occasionally, very rarely. But we got that one, and then we got this set with 155 for 3. So again, something I want to do because pullovers allowed me to start doing pull-ups and chin-ups again. And it allowed me to even be able to overhead press. I couldn't even overhead press the bar due to those old impingements that created some calcification and stuff. So again, the pullovers allowed me to start doing that, but I haven't been doing them super deep. Lately, I started going heavier on them, and I feel like I really need the mobility work. So we'll discuss that later in it. I'm going to double down and do more and more of the really pause, deep stretch pullovers and keep improving. Upright rows, I feel like I get a little better contraction with that close grip when I use the easy bar. The problem is I'm going to use bigger plates. I hit my elbows. So I'm like, well, let me just load some tens on it, right? And I did sets of I kind of lost count. I think the last set was about 12, but I got 14 or 15 to start. But I just took these pretty much to failure and took a 60 seconds break. So this workout was actually really, really fast. Most of my training, once I finished the overhead pressing, was about a minute. I took a minute between sets. It made me start losing reps a little bit. So I lost two or three reps, I think, on the upright rows by the third set. Because I'm like, let's just chase that shoulder pump. Let's chase everything strict. And again, just get shoulder volume in because I don't need to be thinking heavy on all this smaller movements. I just don't. I'm going to have 5 exercises that I pursue performance on, 5 or 6. Okay. Everything else is just going to be about pumps. So you guys are going to see me doing more and more strict stuff. Now, I want to note today, if you guys notice, especially when I go to pick plates up, my hamstrings, my quads, everything is getting leaner, chest is getting leaner, but my waistline is really, the skin is looser again today. Now, I've said a couple of things with that. Number one, when it's really cold, for some reason, it gets way worse. And could speculate as to why that is, but it's just something I've noticed. But I'm almost considering adjusting against some diet. I've been running low carbs a couple weeks again. But I've noticed again, I feel like almost what happens too when I start losing body fat, that whole area tends to get a little saggier for a bit also. So I do feel like I may be losing a little body fat, but I'm also considering coming through and just running a chicken and rice type diet, but then eating just healthy fats. So I may mess with that again. Protein overfeeding and cut a lot of the saturated fat out I've been eating on the lower carbs. I've been doing a lot of it. But maybe just stick to my fat sources as my avocados and some eggs. Protein overfeed, eat just tons of vegetables and throw white rice back in. Because I noticed my waistline gets more bloated when I do the brown rice, especially when I'm fasting. So I may mess with some white rice or some cleaner carbs like potatoes again. Again, might be worth doing. I'm just curious to see what it will do with the waistline, right? With the waistline. But the training is going pretty good even with the lower carbs. But I'm just thinking about, because I rotate through this stuff a little bit, just to see what happens cosmetically. And I don't think it's a bad approach to use. But I do notice I'm obviously looking leaner overall, but the waistline is still not tightened as much as I'd like. And what I've also said, I'm just going to keep losing body fat until it gets tighter. I'll lose body fat till it gets tighter. But I think lots and lots of ab training, core training, stuff like that would, be helpful there, because even if I get it all tighter and I suck it in, with getting leaner, if I build, muscle of the abdominal wall back up, maybe it'll help fill some of that in later. But again, maybe wishful thinking. But it is what it is. So I do feel like at this point, though, it's probably the thing limiting my physique the most. It really is. And really the only way that improves is to get leaner. Laterals, I went really strict and really light today. So I'm like, look, let's just work on taking all these exercises really strict, higher reps for the shoulders. Again, just think volume pump burn in the shoulders at this point. Just need to get them fuller and rounder, right? Just like all my bicep work, we're going in that direction too. Relatively short breaks, keeping the reps 10 or higher, and just chasing strict full range of motion exercises. So with a lot of this stuff, these really are my full ranges of motion. But that's another reason I really want to double down on the pullovers. I know that they helped me more than anything else getting some shoulder mobility restored. I feel like if we also talk about where do I need to bring some stuff up, my triceps need to come up. They're one of the better tricep exercises for me in terms of what I feel. We know my long head could stand to get a lot bigger. It works all that, right? So pullovers may be something that I just need to do tons and tons and tons and tons of. To train them into the ground because, again, get that shoulder health on point. Because, again, I feel like if I can improve my ranges of motion, restore flexibility. It's not mobility. We're saying mobility, but I have great mobility. I have terrible flexibility in there. People don't understand the difference. If I had bad mobility, those 225 incline rep work would stick on my chest. Okay. Mobility means how strong you are at the end of your range of motion. It's an FYI. So, I feel like it would behoove me to do that. So again, I did the rear delt raises on a incline bench there, and then I did some with plates next after all this, just to hit two different angles. Plate front raises because I did everything with short breaks. All these exercises back to back to back. The 45s were heavy. Doing 12s on this was actually really difficult. It burned like hell, and it's about all that I had. Right, it's about all that I had. Also, yes, I think front raises are an amazing exercise, even if you overhead press an incline bench. Plenty of champions use them. I think that they're fantastic, and I don't think enough people do them. Again, this idea that you shouldn't do front raises if you do presses is like saying if you do chin-ups that you shouldn't do curls. It's silly. Build everything. Build all the heads. So what I did today, taking out the overhead press as a heavy movement. For smaller movements, I did an exercise for front. I did 2 exercises for side, 2 exercises for rear. Now, there's an enormous degree of overlap between a lot of that. But I do want to, even though I'm doing some front raises and stuff, I do want to prioritize the side and rear delts more. But that's what I mean right there. Like, look at the hamstrings and stuff then versus the waistline. Look at even my chest and everything here. I'm obviously getting leaner again. So, again, keep losing body fat. But again, I always notice that. I feel like the waistline, the loose skin. When I start losing fat again noticeably, that tends to happen. Right? It's just something I've noticed. But also the cold weather. So it's that combination. So, I'll see what happens with it. I just need to keep losing fat, though. Because really, we have to remember that loose skin is fat. So if you look at it, that's still fat inside of it. So if I burn that off, that goes away. Right? We need to be clear on that. So with these, I ended up getting around 14 or 15 reps. I started hitting failure because, again, about 60-second breaks. But here's the idea. This is not quite as strict as the one on the incline bench, and it's a slightly different angle, but still fairly strict. And again, I just wanted to double down on some rear delt work also, so that we ended up doing 6 total isolation sets for the rear delts. Now, did the other shoulder movements hit the rear delts? Yes. Yeah. But these also then hit side delts. So really, this is biased, this whole workout, a little bit towards side and rear delts. Okay. And then, of course, I did my neck extensions wearing my harness. So again, my neck is finally starting to improve. It's been hurting for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I've had this crick in my neck, but this stuff seems to help. And again, I'm hoping it continues to do so, of kind of just rehabbing that. And it all comes from anytime I sleep wrong. It's one of the things I've noticed with age. My neck just gets destroyed. So this is one of the things that helps. And again, notice what I'm talking about, even the chest there, we're starting to see more and more of that separation. So I'm definitely getting leaner again. So I'm hoping over time that carries over to tightening up that waistline a little, right? We're getting leaner. So just keep working at what I'm doing. I'm clearly getting some recomposition happening. Again, the fasting, the really high protein, the training with the higher volumes, even though I'm still going heavy with the power building. 550 plus pulls, 500 plus box squats, doing 315 top sets on the bench. We're going pretty heavy. So we're going heavy, but then we do all this pump work. All right, then the whole rest of the workout before I did the hanging leg raises. I feel like pullovers and hanging leg raises really are going to help me a lot in terms of just some various weak links. Because of what they bring to the table for the shoulder mobility. There's even a grip component, core component. So again, I want to keep working my abs. I want to keep them strong. This helps. I almost feel like this turns into an ab exercise with the pull and the breathe, and then when you sit back up. But then I did one set of hanging leg raises at the end of this. But I did 5 sets of 20 here, and I'm really focusing on the stretch. And then a lot of times on the last rep, I'm like, let's try to get that stretch as deep as we can. And I feel like this needs to be done multiple workouts, right? Not just chest day, but it works on shoulder day. I might even throw it in at the end of my bicep day because it doesn't seem to trash my triceps and stuff the same way pressing and things do. So I don't feel it'll interfere with my bench day. But again, work that shoulder range of motion. Work it under load. And because that peak tension is then put at the bottom, we're putting that area, that joint into that stretch position. We're putting a stretch against all those muscles that may be binding and limiting some of that. Again, that deep stretch. So again, that's also one of the things that I would say is one of the reasons my triceps have struggled because of the shoulder range of motion and given what we know about the long head and that stretch. Okay. So this is where we start to address bigger issues and say, okay, is that a limiting factor that's limiting my aesthetics? Ooh. So again, this is why things play into each other. Oftentimes the more aesthetic physique is a very functional, balanced physique. So again, if I can continue to work that, will I be able to get better stretches on the long head of the triceps? Will my triceps grow? Will this make my triceps grow? Will my extensions get better with it? I think they will. Will my overhead pressing improve? Will my pull-ups and chin-ups improve? Of course they will. So I feel like it needs to be a priority. But then on top of that, think of all the muscles that get a great pump. They get some extra training volume. They get put into some lengthened positions. So the idea here, will this enhance muscle directly? Yes. Will it also, because of the potential improved range of motion over time, again, improve overall size because the ability to get other muscles, other movements through longer ranges of motion? Because I feel like that's the one thing I'm lacking with the upper body that's holding me back from fully developing some of these muscles a little better, is not being able to take some of the movements through, an optimal range of motion. This is a correction for that. Okay? This is a correction for that. While in and of itself being a great exercise in its own right. So the idea here is to work all of that. And again, it's one of those where it's really easy on recovery. So I feel like this is an exercise I can probably get away with several days a week. 2, 3 days a week, maybe 4. I could consider doing it on my back and bicep day. It'll only improve my back too, right? And even though I did it here, I'm like, well, is shoulder health, is that part of shoulder training? Yeah. So I'm hoping just overall this exercise itself will start to further improve my aesthetics. It worked. All the Golden Era guys felt it worked wonders for their aesthetics, and that makes sense. pecs, tricep long head, lats, all get worked decently well. But again, getting that range of motion restored. Kind of a big deal. I don't feel like there's much else to say in this vlog today. I feel like I've covered all my bases, so I'm just going to let you guys watch the last set or so of the pullovers and the set of hanging leg raises. So I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.